NGO to empower the Python community, and every now and then we spin off a new company. The latest one is Waybuilder, and there are some more. In the right corner there you can see that think people, not products. That's our mantra. And that means that we always put the people first, whether it's our own team, our partners, our customers, or the end user of the products we build. So that's the thing we start with. A bit about me. I'm really passionate about everything that's connected with people's behavior, and I have a master's degree in psychology. I have worked in different types of organizations, from military to community organization. And from these experiences, I've learned that the secret for a successful company is the organization culture. And for the latest 2 years, I've been part of Thorgate team as a Chief Culture Officer, and my main role is to retain a positive work culture and also make sure that the NPS score is great. Today we talk about the culture. So why the culture even matters? Our culture is the underlying structure that explains how we behave. And what we mean with it is that our culture is something that defines us, and it keeps us in line with our values. It also helps us in daily basis to be more productive. It helps us in hiring and also motivating the team and also keeping the best people in the team. And in the end, it just makes us a team, not a company only. And just to be clear here, this presentation is not going to be over with this slide, but the core is of our culture is the 3 C's: the communication, communication, and communication. Our culture is from our people, and it is for the people. So with people, there can never be too much communication. I know that it sounds a bit maybe easier than done, or said than done, but today I'll talk in more depth of the things we do daily, weekly, monthly, or yearly to keep the communication running. So the first part is the communication within the team. We put a lot of resources to the communication with a team because communicating sufficiently among ourselves is something that that makes sure that all our schedules and tasks are aligned. One thing that I would start with, because it's the most personal communication way, and it's happening monthly, is our one-on-one meetings. It's something that I'm doing, and every person from the company is doing it with mainly with their direct managers. And it's meeting where the whole focus is on the team member. So basically, when I'm doing the one-on-one meeting with my manager, then we're talking only about me, and most of the time I'm speaking. And during the meeting, we're talking about highs, about lows, about my goals, and we also give the feedback to each other. And sometimes I even set some goals for my manager, because it's also important. And to make an overview how it looks, because I know that a lot of companies are doing the one-on-one meetings, but in our company it usually takes 1 to 3 hours, so we put a lot of time there. And to make the whole tracking easier, then we're using ClanBeat. Every week we have meetings where team members give a short overview of the things that they have accomplished or process at work. They talk about plans. They talk about things that are going to happen within the next week or within next weeks, and also bring up the problems. So that's the PPP meeting. It's the progress, plans, and problems. And that's something we do, yes, as I said, every week, and it's usually like this shorter meeting, maximum for an hour, but it keeps us, again, keep everything on track. Then daily we have team stand-ups. It's basically like a short version of this PPP meeting, but it's with a team, so everybody's in line with the situation and how the projects are going. And if somebody has a question they would like to have the discussion with the team, then that's the place to talk about this and discuss the things. And is that it makes to be able to react on the problems or the questions we're having like quickly. And in case we see that some things are not going as planned or they're going better as planned, then we can make the changes in our plans. So that's the key for the success. Also, in the end of every sprint, it depends on the team, whether it's a weekly event or it's a bi-weekly event, we do retros. Every team does it a bit differently, but as the main idea is to sum up the whole sprint, then usually the easiest is to bring out the pluses and minuses. So in the beginning of the retro, we take 5 minutes for everybody, and during this 5 minutes, we write down some keywords with pluses or minuses. And after the 5 minutes, we share the keynotes with the keywords with everybody. And if there's some, and we also comment, then we have the discussions. But if there's like some reoccurring negativities, then we're having like deep discussions with the whole team, and we're finding solutions and also trying to put down or write down the next steps so the problem would be solved. Then one thing that we're also doing is overviews, meaning that on every Friday we have overview, and on one Friday we have the grilling. So basically on the first Friday we do the sales overview, on the second we do efficiency overview, then we're grilling our CEO, and in the last Friday, or usually it's the last Friday, we're talking about our events and trainings that are coming up. And these meetings give this concentrated overview, and it's important because we want everybody to be in the loop of the things that are happening. So we share everything. We're talking about the numbers. We're talking about who are the best people who have done things great. We're giving the medals to the teams and so on. So it's the meeting where we're talking really openly about everything. And as said, on the third Friday, we're grilling our CEO, meaning that our company culture is really open and welcoming, and like it's normal that everybody can go and speak with a CEO directly whenever they feel like it, or where they have some ideas or concerns, or like I can't even say that the door is open because he's sitting with us in the same room. Usually he's in the office, or he's always reachable through Slack and so on and so on. But still, there are some questions that people sometimes feel that talking directly with the CEO is not so comfortable. So we have this Grilling the CEO event where people are sending questions anonymously. As mentioned, it's like a really good place to talk the uncomfortable topics with a whole team and to discuss them and find solutions in case needed. We also have annual and mid-year meetings because we're transparent and we feel that reporting is also the key for our great culture. We want to picture 2 times in a year, or we want to look over them at least 2 times in a year. So the whole system is that in the end of the year, we set the goals with the teams for the next year. And in the beginning of the new year, we organize a presentation where the whole company or even the whole group is involved, and we discuss the goals that we set. And also we talk about how the previous period went, and we also explain what and how we want to do in the future. And then we have the mid-year meeting where we come together again and see how the first part of the year went. Sometimes we need to make the plans or we need to change the plans because time flies and things change within the time. So yeah, and keeping the whole team in the loop and sharing the bigger vision with the whole team really makes the difference. One part of our community or communication strategy is communicating our knowledge, and this is because we really focus on personal development in the company. That's a really big thing in Thorgate. And every person, when they join Thorgate, they get a personal mentor, meaning that usually it's their own manager, but sometimes there are some people who say that, hey, I want to be this person's mentor, or the person, him or herself, ask a different person to be the mentor. And the personal mentor or his or her role is not only to make sure that the whole career is going in the direction that the person wants, but also giving like really good insight or really good advice for this personal growth. And we feel that it's really important to pay attention that the person's like certain life skills will also be developed. So yeah, everybody will feel comfortable in their career path. Then the work-free workdays. It's something that's happening once in a month, and I know that there's like mentioned 2 times the work, but it's actually a day for learning. And this means that everybody can work on whatever they choose. They can read a book, they can take a class or work on some personal projects. So basically anything that helps them to get better in what they do. And even though it takes like the whole day, the 8 hours of a month, and it may seem like too much, but for us, it's actually a big gain in terms of consistent like self-learning and personal development for our employees. Then a couple of times in a month, we have the 30-minute knowledge sharings. And during these knowledge sharings, we talk about everything from new trends in tech or about mental health or whatever the topic is that people feel that they need to have the information about. So most of the times our own team members share the knowledge on the topics they have learned during the work-free work days, or when they go to some interesting seminar or conference, then they share this kind of information. Or sometimes even we have this this knowledge sharing where the whole team comes together and shares the experience of some kind of whether it's like a new type of technology they have used or whatever they have tested. So when one team tests out something, then they always share the knowledge they gained from the testing period. And we also have the mental health knowledge sharings regularly. So we would have so everybody in the team would have the knowledge to keep the work-life balance in a good place. We also have team trainings at least 4 times in a year. And it's a trainings where everybody comes together and we have always the trainer from outside of the company. We have written down 4 bigger topics or main topics. It's values, it's teamwork, personal vision, and future trends. And the like specific topic depends on a specific time of the year or the questions we have in the team. So, for example, in this personal vision topic, last time we made this time management training, because that's something that everybody should know how to do in order to make their personal goals more realistic. And in the end of every team training, we have a team event, because you learn, you do some kind of work, but you also celebrate. And we do always something that is cool for us. Sometimes we go karting, sometimes we go hockey, or we play hockey, or we just do something innovative, whether it's like a virtual reality or something like this. As mentioned in the beginning, that then part of Thorgate Group is also the NGO. It's called Python Estonia. And within this NGO, or with this NGO, we organize Python Goat Clubs and also the Python Estonia. The Goat Club is bi-weekly event where the Python community comes together. In the beginning of each session, we have some speaker talking or sharing knowledge about things that are related to Python. And on the second part, we're doing the coding session. We have our own knowledgeable people there helping with different questions, and also there's a great chance to discuss just the general topics about the Python. And we're also organizing the PyCon Estonia. It's the largest Python conference in Northern Europe, and its main goal is to educate people about Python. And this year it's happening again. It's on the October 8th, and this time it will be virtually, because it's the international conference, and to keep everybody safe, then we're doing it virtually this time. The third part of our communication strategy is a two-way feedback stream, meaning that everybody's feedback is important, whether it's the client feedback, employees feedback, team's feedback, or to manager, or vice versa. And when we were setting up our KPIs, then we understood that our most important KPI is the company's employee net promoter score. So the eNPS score is something that we take really seriously. We measure it monthly. It's a quick question about the score, how well the employee would score us. And then we also have two quick questions. The first question is about the things we could improve, and the second question is about what we do already well and we should keep doing it. And to make sure that the results are reliable, then we have set the threshold on 80%. So every time we don't reach the threshold, then we don't take the results seriously, or we don't use them. The second most important KPI is customer satisfaction index. We measure this metric quarterly, and we have chosen to use external partner for it. So sometimes the clients would feel more comfortable while giving the feedback. We also value the manager's feedback. And as I mentioned earlier, in the one-on-one meetings are the place to give each other the feedback. And we also say that feedback is good, but the feedback has to be constructive. So the person would know what and how to improve. And that's the thing, how to give feedback. And also we look over the goal set during every one-on-one meeting. And yeah, as said, we're giving the feedback in two ways. So yeah. And also the intra-team feedback. We're a flat organization, and everybody in the team can contribute to the success and say what they're thinking and what their thoughts are, and take actions. And that's the reason why it's really important to listen teammates' feedback. So we highly value the feedback is given during the daily stand-ups, or during the retros that we have in the end of each sprint. And we're also using Clanby to post positive feedback publicly, so everybody would in the team would see and hear, because sometimes the things that happen during the stand-ups and retros, that's like only for the team, or only the team members can hear, but it's good to share with the whole company the positive things. So these are the 3 parts of the things we do for communication. And as Amna said, we're also talking a bit about our hybrid working, because that's also something that is really changing our culture, and we see that the communication is really important there as well. So how it all began, we know that the corona situation pushed us to work like 100% remotely. We had all the things going before, or we had all the tools to work remotely before. But because of the corona situation, people got this mental switch, and everybody feels that it's okay to work remotely. So when the situation got better and it was okay to open the office again, then we had a questionnaire, and we spoke with everybody whether they would prefer to continue working remotely, or they would like to come back to the office to work from here, or something else. And the most popular answer, or something that most of us felt good, was the hybrid working, meaning that you can work from home, from some other country, from the office. It's your decision. But I feel that there is one person who could talk a bit better or more about it, because she was in Italy for 3 weeks to work like 100% remotely. And I would say that she's the perfect example of a person who's working remotely or hybridly. So because of this, Amna, are you willing to take back the mic and talk more about how we're working remotely, and how the hybrid working is working for us?
Yes. So yeah, the reason I'm talking about this is because in the last 2 months, I have, and when things started to look up in terms of coronavirus and it was okay to travel because now borders are closing again, I actually was working remotely from multiple countries, mainly Italy. And yeah, so with the remote working, for me, that the thing that worked, and I feel like with a lot of people that work remotely, is the freedom to choose what works for me. So I do come to the office when I need to, like today, and I work remotely otherwise when I feel like, okay, if I wake up in the morning and like the commute doesn't suit me and I can work from home and be more efficient, maybe because I want to write, since I'm in marketing, maybe I want to write some content and I need just some peace and quiet and I don't want to be in the office, I can work remotely from home. So first of all, a big plus of this whole hybrid working is the freedom to choose every day where I want to work from. And then another thing to sort of keep us connected in this hybrid working situation is the virtual chill room where we're sitting right now. So the virtual chill room has a physical location where I'm talking from, but we're actually always connected during work hours to all the team members who are working remotely. So they can always tune in into a Google Meet link and just talk to anyone who's in our chill room, I don't know, getting coffee or just hanging out. And then also one thing that really helps is that all the meetings that we have within the company are online by default. And so since every meeting is online, you can actually join anything and you don't miss anything at all when you're working remotely. But if you're in office, of course, you can just walk up to the other person, get a meeting room and talk over there. And so even with this whole thing, one thing that is good with hybrid working, so since we're not fully remote, is that we need to kind of keep the team spirit alive. And to do that, we do have social events. Like last weekend, we went for summer days for 2-3 days, and then we had a karting event, and we have a lot of other social events. And that kind of keeps the team spirit alive, because at the end of the day, we can always come back together and just see each other live and talk to each other. And for example, the grilling the CEO that Eva was talking about, we try to have that in person. So, just go somewhere and just mentally grill the CEO while we're there physically present. So it's kind of like a partially social event for us as well. And then one thing is that we're always online during work hours on Slack. So if one of us is remote, they can always send a message, a casual message or a work related message in Slack at any time, in a group or wherever is feasible. But yeah, can we go to the next slide? Yes, but it's not absolutely perfect. So one thing that I wanted to talk about is that there are some challenges with hybrid working. One challenge that we faced is like, in our culture, communication is actually at the core of everything. And we felt like with hybrid working, we were losing some sort of communication. It wasn't as smooth and simple, because at the end of the day, I mean, one of us could be working from Finland, one of us is in, I don't know, Italy, some of us are in Estonia, but in different cities. A lot of us work from Tartu or from Parnu, from other cities. And we realized that it is difficult to keep the communication smooth and simple. So the management, and especially Eva, came up with some guidelines for hybrid working, which are helping us get better with communication. And it's like really making things better for us. So one thing that is required is that all of us need to realize that nothing is more important than the 3 C's that Eva talked about, which is communication, communication, and communication. We kind of need to deliberately focus on that. And then one thing that we do is that we have small events within the team regularly, so the team can keep on communicating with each other. For example, we have a team that is called Dream Team, and they have an event called Dream Tea, where they just get together and have tea together and just chat. Anyone can tune in. Obviously, it happens here in the virtual chill room, but since it's like a regular event that happens, they are always in touch with each other. One guideline is that whenever we get on a meeting, we keep our cameras on so we can see each other, and that kind of creates a connection. And what we've actually focused a lot on is transitioning the whole mentality. We just kind of need to have more acceptance around the fact that it is okay if you have a simple question to just write a message to someone and say, hey, can we just quickly discuss this over a call, and then have a call. Just this is a like, we don't necessarily have to write formal emails. Like, we have to bring in casual conversations into like the digital world. And then one thing that we try to do is keep our Slack status updated. So we use Slack within the company, and it has an option of like sort of having a status about what we're doing. And so, for example, on days when I'm in the office, I just write that I'm working from the office. On days I'm working from home, I write I'm working from home. And on days that I'm working from abroad, I write I'm working from a beach in Spain. I don't know. And also, we try to keep the culture manager in loop, which is Eva. So she can sort of manage the whole thing, because it's very important that she can make sure that, we don't lose communication anywhere and nobody actually loses motivation. So that's kind of the thing we're doing with hybrid working. I wouldn't say we have perfected it. We do have some challenges, but I feel like we have transitioned very smoothly into it, and it's actually working really well for us. On efficiency levels, we have the same kind of efficiency that we had before. So yeah, that's hybrid working at Thorgate.
So I feel that we have spoken a lot ourselves. So I would say that now it's the time for open questions with the team. I'm taking my computer and moving to the chill room to be with the team. And everybody who has the question, feel free to unmute yourself and ask the question. Or in case you don't want to ask it vocally, then you can also write it to this comments part or this chat.
Yes, and I can introduce once again that we have our key account manager, Carl, over here. We have our project manager, Ago, over here, and we have our engineering manager, Madis, over here. So feel free to unmute yourself and ask any questions. In the meanwhile, I'll also go through the chat and just quickly see if there were any questions in the beginning that we could answer. But yeah, feel free to unmute yourself. And also, like, if you have a comment, you want to talk about anything, just feel free to talk about it.
Hello.
Hello. So someone asked if we have a problem that one person is in a weird time zone and cannot join many meetings. If yes, how did we solve it? Maybe.
Yes, I'm actually writing a reply to that, but I can read it out loud and then post it. We've had times actually when some people have been in very early birds or very night owls. So how we've tackled that is that we agree that they would still join the daily stand-up where we, discuss how our days have been. Also, at times we have even moved the stand-up to a later or a earlier time so that those people would still be able to join. Obviously, not like a long-term solution. So if there's really some people working from the US, the whole company cannot rearrange its working methods to suit to that. But there's definitely ways around it, and we have clients in multiple time zones as well. So it's just a matter of finding the proper balance and taking it from there.
Yep. May I know the difference between the Scrum Master and Project Manager?
Yeah.
Madis.
Yeah, like sure.
Hi there.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hi, this is Abhishek, and I'm calling from the state of Qatar, Middle East. So I'm currently working here as a business intelligence specialist at the Ministry of Education and Higher Education. And I got through this whole the town hall kind of a thing that you guys are conducting, which I feel is absolutely fantastic. So I just wanted to understand a couple of things. So about this culture that you're talking about, it's definitely a very intuitive and a very friendly culture. Something I'm related to in a more profound sort of a way. So in terms of recruitment, so when you're looking for talent, so imagine a situation hypothetically where I am currently into a technical profession, a technical role, and I want to transition into a role that's more people oriented. So, for example, as someone said, like a project manager or a scrum master. So, maybe more adept with the agile methodologies or the scrum methodology. So, moving into, so how comfortable as an organization are you in accepting someone who's coming from a different technical background and wants to transition into something else? Because I know it sounds very ideal in situations, but not a lot of organizations really are very accepting or open to this kind of a transitional change. So that is something I really wanted to understand from you as an organization. So how comfortable if I, being a business intelligence and analyst who's got a whole experience in Power BI or Microsoft technologies, or Tableau, or he wants to move into something like project management, how open are you as an organization?
I think the perfect person to answer that is Argo over here, who has had a very diverse background, and he's also joined recently, I think a month ago, I guess.
2 months now.
2 months ago.
Yeah.
And I think he would be the best person to answer this.
Yeah, so before joining Thorgate, I was actually a developer, a long background in development, whether it's front end or back end. And then I slowly, I guess, moved to, analysis, Google Analytics, etc., and UX. So actually, my background is more tech oriented, but now I'm working as a project manager in Thorgate. So definitely possible. They accepted me with that background, so I have firsthand experience that it is possible. Maybe to add to that point a little bit, the first thing that we look at is not the person's like background, but rather their know-hows and skills in order to succeed in that position. So if you are a very good communicator and you're looking to move to a project management role, for example, we have a homework assignment for the project managers where we see how good their communication is. And sad to say, at the end of the day, you might be a very cool guy, but if you're not able to do the job that this position requires, then Thorgate is a small enough company that we are not only able to hire spirit, we still need to be sure that you're able to perform in the tasks that you have been given. So as long as you're able to properly show that you're capable of learning and doing the job and you show potential, then you definitely have a place in Thorgate.
Yeah.
And in case you're aligned with our
Yeah, I
values,
totally understand.
something important.
Yeah, sorry. I totally understand what you just said. I just want see this is exactly what my expectation is from an organization that may let me grow. Because as you said, I don't want to do something that's incredibly exceptional in nature. So let's say something as I, for example, I want to be a project manager or I want to be a scrum master. But being a scrum master also needs you to be a project special, like to be a product owner because you need a certain amount of knowledge before you actually move into Scrum. So that is what. So for example, if let's say from an HR standpoint, I'm not really sure how a company would ideally perceive this kind of a situation where I apply, let's say, apply for a project management role where the set of skill requirements is different. But I do have a certain amount of sync with project management because maybe the kind of technical work I've done is for the project management teams before. So would that be appreciated or that be taken into consideration while looking at the profile?
I think one way to answer that is to talk about our recruitment process. So how it works is not just looking at your CV and trying to find relevant experience, but when you apply
Right,
for a position that you think you're a fit, there's usually questions that are more related to your attitude and why you think you're a fit for this job. And when you answer those questions,
right,
there's like those questions, your answers to those questions have a lot of weightage compared to just your
right.
CV. And then usually we have a
Okay,
first call after that in which we talk about why you think you would fit for the job, and like just trying to explain to you what the job is about, and if you're actually you have the
right,
right attitude and maybe the skill set for it, if not necessarily experience.
Yeah.
So
So, for example, I see that there's like a couple of questions relating to that as well. Like in our company, the project manager isn't just a scrum master, so their job isn't just to so to say keep things in line, but rather it's let's say more of a mediation role where the technical requirements, the big vision, gets translated into something that actually can be executed. The main
right,
difference between a project manager and an engineering manager is that the engineering manager is focusing on developers' individual efficiency and how to best help them succeed, helping them build more valid tools and making sure that across the company, not only within that team, the people would have the proper attributes to succeed in their role, whereas the project manager is focusing on the project goals of that specific client. So they are not so much concerned with, for example, does Ago have a working laptop, or how well did he do in the last month with the tasks that were handed to him. What concerns the project manager is more related to how much on track are we, and what kind of resources. I know it's a bad word to use people to name people as a resource, but at the end of the day, it is that, because if the project manager starts to worry, for example, we have a promising developer joining, and if he has to start to worry about training them up, then he takes his focus away from delivering the project. But if he knows that, okay, I can account that that new developer is only 0.2% efficient, 20% efficient in the first month, then he knows that, okay, that's the resource that I can expect from that person. And when things are not going the way they're supposed to, then there is an engineering manager to go and talk to that person. And the engineering manager is somebody who has development background, so they're able to actually connect in the correct level. Not all of our project managers are ex-developers like Ago was. So, for example, I was in business development myself before, and yeah, we come from various backgrounds, so it really boils down to the
right.
person, and we have the correct people in the correct places, then we are creating the best environment for everybody to succeed.
yeah.
Right.
I
Thank you
hope
very
that
much.
also,
That helps.
yeah, I hope that answers the question about the difference between Scrum Master and Project Manager as well.
That was
And
just an
yeah, so
example. That was just an example because I have a certain experience in processed companies. For example, when I say processed, I mean like larger MNCs or big fours where it doesn't really, it's as good as it sounds, but it is too structured in terms of work ethics or cultures, where if I'm aligned to a certain role or a skill set, I'm not. It would sound a little rude, but I'm not really allowed to think beyond that, or I'm not really allowed to approach something beyond what my current job responsibility is. And that kind of imparts, because of the amount of structure or the amount of levels or hierarchy that's ingrained in the system. So that is pretty much the reason why I wanted to move or actually look into options outside such processed organizations, because that kind of gives you the opportunity to grow and bloom. So thank you for answering the question. That was just an example, by the way. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Yeah, completely understand. It's quite common, especially in large organizations, for to try to keep people in their lane, because it's quite easy. And admittedly, it happens in Thorgate as well, where somebody gets very excited about something and then they kind of forget about the main thing. But one like very big differentiator is that we actually encourage people to speak up their mind. So if they're feeling that this current role that they're at doesn't really suit them anymore, then Thorgate firstly tries to find a way to accommodate for that within the company. And if that is not working out, then we even go as far as trying to find them next better path somewhere else. We don't actually like send out their CVs, but we, their personal mentor or a manager would advise them on what to learn next or how to proceed. So that's that. I see Yuri has a question about how to manage time and how to work together efficiently when everyone's kind of working remotely and doing it aside from other things. There are two trains of thought to this. One is responsibility-based management, and another one is accountability-based management. So in responsibility-based management, you are agreeing to deliver certain deliverables by a certain time frame, and then you're left alone. Yes, there isn't much communication, but everybody knows what they need to do, and they know that other people are accounting to them. Another option, what some people might call over-reporting, is that you actually send out daily PPPs, so progress reports. My progress thus far, my plans for tomorrow, any problems that I encounter. And that's one way to really make teams work when they are not communicating with each other. And in terms of like time management tools, there's always Toggle and there's always Clockify and other things that can be used to track time. But if you as a team of 4 people start tracking each other's times and start focusing on that rather than delivering results together, then you have different problems to solve before you're able to work together efficiently.
That's the thing I was talking about, that we have the daily stand-ups. It's like the 15 or 30 minutes for everybody in the team. That's agreed time, like different teams have like different times for the stand-ups, but every team has the stand-up, and that's something that everybody from the team, whenever or wherever they are working, they have to be there. So it's like the 15 or 30 minutes for each day. They just have to come together, and then we're talking about how things are going, what's the problems in case we have questions, and so on and so on. So that's the place we come together and see how things are going. And in case we need it, then we're changing the plans.
And also we have, like, in general, the whole company has a mentality of get stuff done.
Yeah.
So we don't have to, micromanage everyone. We just have this trust regarding the people who do the work. Like, we all get together and we get the stuff done, and that's the, I guess, quite an important thing regarding that.
I would add one more thing, that we are not, so to say, angry at people when they fail. On opposite, we encourage people to speak up as soon as they encounter a problem. So rather than have somebody struggle 1 or 2 or 3 days trying to figure out an issue, we encourage people to say as soon as they don't understand anything, and it actually encourages the whole team to become better. So, for example, if a project manager's task description is bad, then developer would highlight it that, hey, it's unclear at the moment what is going on here, or vice versa when the developer is trying to explain their reasoning behind something, then there is no fault when the project manager says that it's too technical for me, I don't understand, can you dumb it down? So these are some ways how we're trying to avoid inefficiencies. That is not to say that we haven't had moments when project manager looks into a task 2 or 3 days later and it's like, okay, what the hell is going on in here? So it happens everywhere, and there's always lapses in communication, but you strive for the better. And one thing that we are, for example, now trying to do ourselves in the company is that we are trying to create a baseline for all of the roles. It's not it's not like a let's say a working guide. It's more of a baseline that, okay, if you're able to do this, then you should be okay. So whenever heads collide or there's waves above your head, then you're able to reduce your activities down to that, then you should be okay. So just some more things that are required when you're moving more to a remote work, whereas otherwise it would not have had to be.
We have another question. Maybe Eva can answer the question. It's about if a person has, no, there was one before that. So about the recruitment process, what does the company value more, skills, or attitude to work?
That's an interesting question because we are a people company. And as said in the beginning, we put people first, meaning that we hire people and we hire the attitude. But also, as Kari said, that we can't hire anybody who are who don't know how to do the work. Yes, of course, there are some things that we are, or there has to be some basic level of knowledge. We can teach a lot, but we're for example, if we're saying that we're looking for a senior developer, that doesn't mean that we're actually taking this junior level. Yes, of course, we're willing to take not so super senior developer, and we're willing to teach them, and I believe that's something we're really good at. But still, we are looking at the skills, but in the end, the first or the last phase of the whole hiring process is the values interview. So however good you are, you can be the master of something, but if you don't pass the values interview, then you're not hired. And then that's something that we say that in the end it all comes down to the people.
Yep. One thing to add maybe is that if hiring you makes others sad, then we can't hire you. So hiring you needs to add value to wherever you're going, and there have been times in the company where we can really and we really want to hire somebody quite junior to whatever role, because we see that it's a good time for us to develop somebody and to really bring in somebody and train them up. But there are certainly times where we say that, sorry, we cannot afford to take anybody besides somebody senior, or there are even occasions where we say that, okay, our knowledge has peaked here, we need somebody who knows more than us. So even though you would really much like to become that person, we can't hire you because we're in the same position as you are currently in that role.
Yeah. And maybe one thing to keep in mind that Thorgate is not a huge company. There's 30 plus of us. So we're, I would say, quite picky because we don't need just hundreds and hundreds of new hires yearly. So that's also the thing. We always have to think and put a lot of effort into this hiring process to find the perfect match.
Yep, I see a question from Ragnar that if a person has a problem during workday, they don't need to wait until next stand-up. Yes, correct.
Yeah.
We would very much prefer if person highlights the problem as soon as they have it. Yeah. And hence the reason for having a project manager and a key account manager within a team, that if it's just a project issue, then yes, it can be brought up to the project manager. But if something needs to be asked from a client, then usually the client gets a call in the middle of the day that, hey, quick question, how do we do this, or how do we get access to that?
Yeah. And during the stand-ups, we usually talk things that requires almost all the team, because everybody can choose whenever they want to work, and in case somebody's in the flow, then we don't want to like say that, hey, you have to come out of the flow and you have to like answer the question now. So these kind of questions that need more people, then that's something we are usually waiting until this next stand-up.
Also, there's a question that you organize Python Code Club and PyCon in order to promote Python. Is it possible for you to provide some interview-oriented or real-life projects you had so that Python learners can practice? I can quickly talk about that. So we have Code Club bi-weekly, and what we do with Code Club is that there's access to a website called pyspace.eu. You can join that with your GitHub account or even your Google account, and it has a set of challenges that you can actually solve. And what we're planning now for the upcoming session is that at the end of, so we have like 6 or 7 sessions, and at the end of the sessions we have sort of a hackathon in which we work on PySpace, so the Python learners can practice. I'm not sure what it means by providing real life projects. But
I think it was meant that if we have like something that we build publicly, that people get, like open source projects that people can contribute to. I think it was referring to that. There's a follow-up. What if a newbie wants to join Thorgate who has just finished learning Python, however he she is not gained any project experience? It follows to the same whole there, that we like that you're eager. We would very much like you to join the Code Club and to gain more experience there. But at the end of the day, you cannot make others sad. So if a lot of steam goes into training you up in Python, then others are not going to be able to do their job well. So there needs to be a baseline experience in Python and React, because we do have full stack developers in our company to be able to join the team.
Yeah, but it also depends on what you mean by just finished learning Python. Like maybe if you've like sort of learned Python and you do have some experience with some projects that you can bring to the table, I think we would be more than happy to consider.
Yeah, it at the end of the day, it depends on various factors. We cannot say that if you have these skills, definitely don't apply. Like
we always look over the CV, and usually we ask even some kind of like portfolio from the people, so we would see like what's the actual skills, and we also like ask what people have done like for their hobby projects and so on, because it like most of the developers haven't done only things during their working time. Usually they start like with their own hobby projects, and they do so much more, and usually they don't write it to the CV. So that's why we ask a lot of different questions in addition to just asking the CV. So yeah.
Then there's a question from a process perspective. Would you abide by a common set of metrics to gauge the efficiency of the organization, or would you have different metrics for different teams and then aggregate them together to monitor the efficiency as a whole?
Maris, maybe you can answer, because you're doing the efficiency over your time.
Yeah, let's say that our biggest like KPIs that we're measuring are actually happiness. Like, will it be the happiness of our own people inside the company, or like will it be the happiness of our customers? Basically, what they are receiving from our end. And like this is the biggest metric, like company-wide. But we also like pay attention to them, let's say, team by team. But yeah.
And person by person.
Yeah, and person by person. But yeah, like in the end, the metrics for the product teams are exactly the same. Of course, we have the marketing department. Like there, we have like different KPIs. But like when it's product development, software engineering, then they are the same KPIs for each team.
Yeah, it's just to maybe like dive into that for a moment. When you compare one developer to another, you need to be fair. So it can't be that, okay, this guy really loves PHP, for example, and that's why it's okay that he's not so efficient in Python. At the end of the day, we need to be able to compare apples to apples, and there are people who are stronger in architecture or backend or DevOps, and we are trying to direct the tasks in that direction as well, so that they would be able to excel where they feel the strongest at. On the opposite, there are people who say that I would really like to get more involved in front end or more involved in that. So again, we turn the table around and we accept the lower efficiency with the account of you becoming a better developer overall, for example.
Yeah. There's a question, what if a newbie wants to join Thorgate who has just finished learning Python? This one we've answered already.
Yep.
Okay, sorry. We jump from questions. There is one on, maybe Eva, you talked about it. One management style was responsibility based, and what was the other one?
Accountability based.
You talked about it.
Yes.
Okay, so it was responsibility and accountability based.
Yes.
If there is a junior level Python developer but a big fan of Thorgate, what would be the best way to join your team? Work somewhere else until you're senior enough? Or is there a way to train according to what would be in line with your needs, or having Thorgate as a mentor for the journey?
So I would say the Code Club is
the Code Club is the place because we are having our own developers there and our own people there. So you can learn a lot from them during the Code Club sessions. So yeah, the Code Club is the place to come.
And maybe Madis has a tip where to transfer some money.
Yeah, but I guess like in the end it all like boils down to your own passion. So like my recommendation for everybody who like wants to get their like foot in the door is to like find this one idea, this like one passion, and try to build an actual web product around it. Like you can go and work on all of the tutorials and like whatnot on the internet, but like until you find a real problem, a real project that you can work on, and something that you can build from zero to live, then like I think like this is the best way to like gain some real experience that will help you, will it be entering Thorgate or any other like product.
Yeah. That's all the questions we have in the chat. If there's one last question, since we're running out of time, you can just unmute yourself and ask a question if there is one. Or a comment or any advice for us, I don't know, feedback. When is the new session of Code Club starting? We're planning to have the next Code Club session on a tentative date of 9th of September. So the autumn session starts then. And yeah, then we see how long it goes for, depending on the situation.
Yeah. But yeah, you can find the information in the Facebook page.
If you're not, if you want to like sort of stay more in tune with the Python Estonia activities, there's a Facebook group called Python Code Club that you can just join, and we constantly post all our news over there.
And also PyCon is around the corner.
Yes. Also, there's PyCon on 8th of October, as Eva talked earlier. And yeah, we post updates about that as well.
So thank you everybody who joined. I added some links there. From the blog, you can read a lot of things that we're doing in Thorgate. There are more things explained in more depth about the culture as well. In the jobs page, you can also read about our values and how we do things. And of course, if you have any questions or ideas, then just let me know and write to my email.